This is going to be an assembly video of the Nitrofit Limber Pro. Before we start, there are two things that I want to mention. First one is, to make things easier, you might want to get yourself a 13mm socket head or a 1/2" socket head. Either one of them will work on the nuts that come with the unit. The second step, there is an orange bag that comes with all of the items you see here. There are some screws, washers, a couple of tools, some wrenches here, so you don't need to use the additional wrenches I mentioned. Take those out of the package, separate them so that you know what you've got over here. In my orange package, I had 5 long screws. They were the number 3. I had 8 of the number 20. I had the 2 wrenches that you see in the corner. I had flat washers. I had 2 machine screws. I had 4 nuts, and I had some lock washers. Separate everything. Other than the components that are in the orange bag, everything else is already going to be mounted on the pieces that come in the box. An example of what I'm talking about, we already have the hardware mounted, so all you would do is find this in the instructions, unscrew your hardware, do the mounting with the hardware, and then tighten it down. Here is another example of the hardware, the screws, the washers, the lock washers already mounted, so you would just unscrew them. The first step is you are going to use the rear tube. There are 2 tubes. This is the front tube and the rear tube. The way you find the rear tube, it is the one that is longer. It is also the one that has fixed pieces on the end. The end caps on the front one spin. The end caps on the longer number 1 do not spin. This is the one that you want. You are going to connect the rear tube to the main tube. This is the main tube. It is a straight tube. It has holes on one side, no holes on the other. There are holes over here. We are going to attach the rear tube into these holes with the hardware that is on here. At this point, it does not matter what direction number 2 is facing. We will worry about that in the following steps. Put the bolt through, put the washer on, put the nut on. And as you assemble, you always want to make sure your assembly is secure before you start tightening everything down. You don't want to tighten down one side and then put something else on. You want to tighten down everything at the same time. There might be some steps where we will not tighten everything down until we have everything attached. This does not have a screw area for a cross screwdriver or Allen head, so we are just going to hold it while we take the 13mm metric wrench or the 1/2" socket, and we tighten it down. This completes step 1 of the assembly. And remember, as I said, you do not want to be doing this with the side that spins. You want to be doing this with the side that has the stationary end caps. Now that we have completed this step, if you have not done this already, make sure that the holes are facing the floor. So I'm going to turn this part over so that we just have the flat side. And now we are going to get the pedal kit. This is the slide pedal kit. We are going to mount this on the part that we just worked on. We're going to make sure that the holes are facing up, but we have holes on the bottom here. We have holes on the top over here. We are going to slide this piece over this, and as we do that, it's going to get caught, so you're going to take this screw and loosen it so that once you loosen it, you see I'm turning it to loosen it, and then you'll see this piece over here that allows me to pull it back. You're going to need to pull that back so that you can slide this over the part that we just worked on. And as we slide it on, we are going to encounter these holes. And so we will pull that pin back that I showed you and slide this on until it fits into one of these holes. If this video is helping you, please do a thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. If you would like to leave a donation, ask for my PayPal info. I will gladly accept any donation. So we're going to take the slide pedal, and you see how it turns over here. So we're going to turn that down. We're going to slide this over. And remember, I said that you were going to run into a problem where you're going to have to pull that pin back. So I'm going to pull the pin back now. And now you can see it allows me to slide this item over, and I'm going to slide it down until it locks into one of the holes. Slide that down a little bit more. The pedal kit, number 6, comes pre-assembled to the cushion base kit number 19, so that knocks out a couple of steps. And now we are going to step 3 of assembly. Our next assembly step is going to be the front support. I have it mounted on the floor. We have a 2-screw flat panel piece. You want to angle it like this. So this is the very long part. I'm going to slide it on the floor so we can keep all of this in the camera. And we're going to go to the small round end. We are going to take the front support, which has the integrated wheels that spin, and we are going to do the exact same mounting that we did with the first part. Going to unscrew the flat washer and the nut on both sides. And then we are going to take both bolts. We are going to mount them into the round end. Be sure you're doing it on the round end where we have the 3 holes at the bottom. We're going to mount our hardware. Then we are going to take a flat washer and a nut. I'm going to put it on one side. We're going to do that on the other side. And like I said, you can attach this with a 13mm socket set. Tighten it down. You can do that with a 1/2-inch socket set. You can do it with an adjustable wrench, but socket is preferable. We have handlebar number 15. I want you to turn it over and remove the bolt, which also has a lock washer or a spring washer and a flat washer, so you don't want to mess up the order, but if you drop it on the floor, flat washer goes on last, lock washer or spring washer goes on first. So you're going to take that off of the handle, both of them, and then we are going to attach this to the piece that we just worked on. So I'm going to keep these together, set them aside, and this is the handle that I just worked on. We still have it on the same position. We haven't removed it from the floor, so it's curving upward. So what I'm going to do now is take the handlebars, and I'm going to make sure that they are facing, see the Nitrofit? I want to face this upward. I'm going to put the Nitrofit down on the floor. I'm going to put my first bolt through the hole. I'm not removing anything. It's all going to stay the way it was. You see that? It all stays on there. Put it through the hole. Lift this up. Position it. Start to tighten it down. I'd like you to be able to see what I'm doing here. So you can see that I tighten this down a little bit. And what do we have here? We have an Allen head. Some people call that a hex head. So we are going to get the tool that came in the orange bag, and we will use that to tighten it down. I have the bolts inside the handlebar bracket, and I am going to be tightening down the bolts with the Allen wrench on both sides. You have a lock washer in here, but you want to make sure that this is tightened down all the way, because you are going to be putting a lot of force on the handlebars when you are leaning backward. Take the handlebar setup and move that out of the way. We are going to connect the slide connection tube. That is this. We have 4 bolts on here, and that is going to connect to this bottom unit that we worked on in step 2. So I believe we have, okay, the wrench will work on both of these bolts. The 2 at the front are the shiny ones. The 2 at the back are a dull finish. So make sure that you do not mix that up. The 2 shiny ones and the 2 duller ones, they are probably different sizes. We'll find out in a minute. So remove all 4 of those bolts and set them aside. Our next step might require 2 people. I don't have another person here, so I'm going to be doing this by myself. But we are going to be attaching, as I said, the slide connection tube into the openings over here. So this is the slide connection tube. It's the piece that's curved. And it looks like we are going to be sliding this into here. One thing I want to show you, this is where I removed the 4 bolts. We have 2 large holes and the 2 small holes. And we have this optional support that is recommended if you are over 250 pounds. But they suggest that you use this even if you are under 250 pounds. You will notice that we have 2 large openings and 2 small openings. So that is going to get mounted that way, I believe, underneath on the bottom. We'll find out in a minute. So let's slide this in here. It should slide right into the opening. That is the unit I was talking about, but now I have it upside down. Put some protective covering on the ground if you're using carpet so you don't damage it. I have it upside down so that it is easier for me to put the screws in. Large hole, small hole, large, large, small, small. These are the screws that I took out before. And we are going to insert them, and then I'll turn off the camera so I can tighten everything down. We have completed step 5, and now we are going to start on step 6A. They suggest using this support foot, and I also think it's a really good idea. It balances out the weight between this very long piece of material, and it is a wise decision. So tighten down all 4 bolts, and now we are going to go to step 6A, where we're going to attach this to the handlebar unit. So if you did what I said and turn this upside down to put on the screws or the bolts, turn it right side up so that this foot is now on the floor. We are now going to use the hardware that was in the orange package. We're going to use 4 of the 5 long screws that was in the package. We're going to use the flat washers, we're going to use the lock washers or spring washers, and we're going to use 4 nuts. This is probably going to require, again, 2 people, because we're going to hold the handlebar unit that we put together, and we are going to attach it to this bottom unit. Let me show you how it's going to attach. On the floor, I have my handlebar unit that I'm going to stand up in a minute. The feet are over to the right. I don't know if we can see that. There it is. So I'm going to stand this up, and we're going to take these 4 holes, and we are going to mount them onto this front bracket, and we're going to be connecting them to these 4 holes on the front. So let me show you what that looks like. Please forgive me, but I'm doing this by myself with the camera and the tripod and assembling it by myself. So I'm trying to give you the best view I can. This is leaning against this part over here, and now I'm going to take the 4 long screws and I'm going to insert them from this side, and then I'm going to line them up with the holes that are back here, and then we will continue. Bolt goes through, it's going to insert into the hole. If you're doing this by yourself, I would suggest putting one bolt in, taking a flat washer, putting it on, taking a split or lock washer or spring washer, putting that on, taking one nut, putting that on, hand tight, and now everything is secure. It's not going to fall over, and you'll do that to the other 3 bolts. All the bolts are inserted. I have the flat washers on the 3 bolts that I just added. Put a lock washer on each of those, and then I'm going to put the nut on there. When we get to the seat assembly, there are going to be 4 screws, 4 bolts attaching the seats to the unit, and it's very important that you do not tighten everything down until these seats are aligned. So with something like this is definitely aligned. It is okay to go in there now with your wrench. This is where it's a little easier to have your own wrench. They outline in the manual. It makes it a little easier. If you don't have that, then it will take a little bit more time to use the provided wrench. So I'm going to tighten all 4 of these, and then I will continue. One thing to remember, put your Allen wrench on this side after you've got everything tightened down a little bit, and start tightening your nuts. You can see that I am not tightening everything down one at a time. I'm going in a random order, back and forth, so that I can torque it evenly. This is the back cover. This is the top of the back cover. And this is the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert this over 2 poles, and we're going to rest the bottom of this. This is the front handle. See, these are the handlebars up there. You're going to rest this. These are the screws we just mounted. This piece is going to rest on top of this. It's a little tight fit. It's a little weird piece. We're going to rest this on the top of it. And then we are going to press this against the 2 vertical pieces. So you can see that it is sitting right against the metal. And now we're going to take the front cover. This is the front cover with the indent on the top, little pointed piece, and we are going to mate it to the piece that we just put on. And now there are 2 holes in the front, and we are going to get the 2 small threaded screws that came in the orange package. There are only 2 of them. We're going to insert them into the top and bottom hole and tighten it down with the screwdriver. These are the threaded screws. This is the screwdriver piece of the Allen tool. Hold the front and back covers together. Insert your screw into the opening and start tightening it down. Suggestion, advice, tighten it down, but do not tighten really hard. You don't want to crack the plastic. We now have the 2 screws inserted into the hole and tightened down. That's what it looks like. Nice flat seam over there. This is the back. Final step for the night, the last long screw, and get a flat washer. And we are going to go to the front of the stretcher. And there is a hole over here. We are going to take the screw, put the washer on there. Can't use the tripod for this, sorry. we are going to go back over to this hole over here and insert the screw. And you can see on this side, there is a threaded hole. And we are going to take the screw, the bolt, and turn it in. And then we are going to get our Allen tool. We're going to put it into the screw head and tighten everything down. You do want to tighten this down, but don't torque it down to the point where you start breaking anything or bending this threaded piece over here. Tighten it down until it's secure and everything is solid, and that's it. We are almost finished. Tomorrow I will do step 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 and finish this off for everybody. That's what we have so far. Very easy to do. It's just extremely warm in the loft and it is very late. I believe the only thing left is we're going to be putting some straps on here. We're going to be mounting, what do I have? The seat bracket. We have 2 seat brackets, and we have the back seat and the bottom seat. So I'll see everybody tomorrow. The next step, we are going to remove the screws from the cushion supporter. The screws are on the bottom. These are very long screws, so it's going to take you a second to remove them. If the hardware falls off, remember it is the split or lock washer and then the flat washer. We are going to take this piece with the angle facing upward. You're going to see what this looks like in a minute. And we are going to go over to the cushion base kit, which is this part over here. And we're going to tilt this upward so that we have access to the 2 screws on the bottom, or the 2 holes on the bottom. We are going to, what I'm going to do now to make it easier for myself, I'm going to insert 1 screw into the hole, and then I'm going to take this piece with the angle up, and I'm going to screw it into that hole that we just removed the screw from. Take your time when you are threading the screw. You don't want to strip anything, and you might want to lift up on this a little bit to make it easier to turn the screw in. After you get it bottomed out, get your wrench and tighten both of these down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these partially tight for now until I assemble the final piece, and then I'm going to tighten all the screws down so that everything fits perfectly. We'll continue to the next step now. One of the final steps is the cushion bracket. We have 2 screws on the bottom and we have 2 screws on the top. So I want you to make a mental note of where you are removing these screws from. We've got the top piece over here with the 2 crossbars. I'm going to take both screws out and I am going to place them on my right side. Again, if you do what I just did and the screw falls on the floor, it is the screw, the split washer, and the flat washer. These 2 screws are going to be inserted into the hole on the piece that we just screwed down, so I am going to place them to my right side for now because they will be going to the right. On the bottom we have 2 additional screws, and those are going to be removed and set aside to the left because they are going to be going into the 2 holes over here. If you get mixed up, the long screws that you removed are going to be going into this hole, and the short screws are going to be going onto this piece over here. Take this piece that I just showed you, and we are going to insert it into the opening over there. And then I'm going to insert the 2 screws into this hole. I'm going to tighten them down, but not completely tight. Now I'm going to tilt this up. Use caution, it's not completely attached yet. And then I'm going to insert the two long screws and feed them into the holes on the bottom. You're going to have to wiggle this around to get it lined up. That's why we did not tighten the screws down completely. It's in there somewhere. There it is. You might have to move this away a little bit so that you have some ability to feed the screw in. I'm going to put both screws in now. Both screws are in. Finger tighten them. Now, get the wrench, tighten down a little bit. There we go. Take your time, be patient. We are almost finished. That is tightened down. That is tightened down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the two screws that I did not completely tighten down before. Now that we have everything lined up, now is the time to do this. Both screws on the bottom and both screws in the middle or the top are tightened down. Take this piece that we just worked on and tilt it back down, and now we have the two final screws that we want to tighten down. You don't have to do it in this order. You can tighten down the screws as you insert them. The reason I didn't do that is because there were 6 screws holding everything together, and I wanted to make sure everything lined up properly before I tightened everything down. So we have everything assembled there. Now we're going to go on to the cushion, I believe. We have the bottom cushion, which has the cutout. On the bottom of the cushion, we have 4 screw inserts. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the orange package, we had 8 screws. We are going to use 4 screws to mount the bottom and 4 screws to mount the top cushion. So I'm going to give you a suggestion, a warning. When you insert this, do not tighten down the screws until all 4 screws are in the holes and inserted into the cushion, because you could cause misalignment. So make sure that you hand tighten, just insert the screw, get all 4 of them into the cushion, and then you can start tightening them down. So what we'll be doing is a little tricky. We're going to put the screw in here, and then we are going to place the cushion on there. You'll probably want to lift this up so you can see what you're doing. And I'm going to do that now without the camera so that I'm not blocking everything. And then I'll show you what it looks like. I have the cushion on the bottom over here. I'm going to insert 1 screw. This way I can see what I'm doing. I can see the screw is threading into the insert. Don't force it. You do not want to strip these screws. I have 1 inserted. I'm going to go down to the bottom. Insert another screw. And by not turning the screws in all the way, it gives you the ability to look at the gap between the cushion and the metal so you can see where you need to put the screw in. The screw head on these screws is very large, and this is kind of narrow. If you have a larger screwdriver, it might make it easier for you to do this. If not, this is sufficient. I'm doing this so it's got a long handle so you can see what I'm doing without blocking the video. Let me put a handle on here. So, the reason you don't want to tighten everything down is because you're going to have to move this around as you tighten things down so that everything fits in place and tightens. Don't tighten one screw down, as I said, at a time. You're going to have to move around a little bit so it feeds in. You can see how I'm wiggling to make that feed in. Okay, we're almost done. Everything is lining up. Take your time doing this. One of my screws was not perfectly threaded, so I had to back everything out to get it lined up and tighten them down again. So make sure everything is definitely in the inserts and turning. If it isn't, unscrew your screws, line it up. I've got another screw that's not inserted right, so take your time. All 4 screws are now tightened down. I will admit, it took me about 5 minutes. I had to back out a few screws, and a couple screws were not in there the way they should be. So the bottom cushion is done. We are going to do the same thing with the top one. We've got the 4 holes over here. We have the 4 screws. Let me get them. The 4 remaining screws over here. We're doing the same thing as before. If you wonder what direction does this go in, it goes in with Nitrofit facing upward. So we have our 4 holes on the bottom. We are going to be using the 4 holes over here, and we'll do the same thing. Take the cushion, place it over. You can't tilt it up like you could with the other ones, so you're just going to have to put each screw in, a couple threads at a time. Make sure all 4 of them are seated before you tighten everything down. This is what it looks like with the top cushion on. Nitro will be facing in the right direction. The 4 screws at the back of this are much shorter than the bottom cushion, so it is going to be a lot easier to insert them and tighten them down. This is the slant board that comes with it. Now, when you look online and you see pictures, it's really hard to tell what the slant board looks like. This thing is heavy-duty material. This thing is heavy, as you could hear it in my voice. It has a very nice skid-resistant material on the top. It has a ridge over there so that the back of your feet, your shoes, can rest against that. It is solid. There's a lot of weight to this. So you can't see it on their pictures or their video, but this is really sturdy and strong. And we're going to put this on now at the front of the unit. This is the fast pin that we are going to be using to support the stretch board. It has a little press pin over there. And we're going to be attaching it to any one of the 3 holes, depending on what angle you want. It gives you a choice of 16, 23, or 30 degrees for your slant. So let me get this board up at the front, and then we're going to take this pin, and while you're facing the unit, it's going to slide in from the right. It doesn't look like it matters which way, what direction this goes in. The drawing shows from the right, but I'm going to show you, I believe this is the middle one, this is the 23-degree angle. You will slide the pin in through there, slide it all the way through. It's going to come through here, it's going to line up, and it's going to push. So we've got the little piece over there. Make sure that this is secure before you use it. This is really solid. Very impressive. I'm very happy with this purchase. So we have one final step, I believe. And the final step, and the easiest of all of them, take the strap, the safety strap, put it behind the instruction panel, drape it over the horizontal bars. You've got them by your handlebars, so you should be able to put your hands in there and grab onto the handle and also use the safety straps. And the final step for me, my feet, I don't have shoes on, but my feet are on the pegs at the back. A little bit wobbly here, I'm on cardboard, but make sure that you have this on a solid floor, a flat floor. I'm going to grab the handles, and for the first time, I'm going to test out my new Nitrofit Limber Pro by leaning back. Before I do this, I want to say, I don't want to mention competition, but I have used the Precor at the gym. And I don't like the Precor because I cannot adjust the seat. With this, you can adjust the seat for your height, which I haven't done yet, but you can adjust it where you want this to position. The advantage of the Nitrofit is what they did when they designed it is they took the best features, I believe, of the Precor and the Life Fitness, and they incorporated that into the design. And the worst features of those two models, those two brands, they improved on them and came up with the ultimate machine, the Nitrofit. So let me test this out now. First time, leaning back. Oh my God, does that feel good. Oh boy. Now, I haven't, as I said, adjusted the position of where I want the seat to be, but I've used the Precor at the Y, and when I get on there, I'm really uncomfortable. It's pulling in my arms. It's an awkward feeling. It's a good stretch, but it's a very uncomfortable feeling. With this, oh wow, I feel this all the way at the lower back, in the hips and the hip flexors, in the thighs. This is a really deep, intense stretch. And I know, for safety reasons, I should be using these, but I'm not going to. And this feels incredible. Pulling into the shoulders, I've got a really intense stretch. They give you the stretches to use in their online site. The other thing that I didn't like about the Precor, and I'm going to see what's going on right now, is that when I did I don't remember what this stretch is, the hamstring stretch. When I did this stretch, the board dug into the back of my leg and it hurt so bad. It was very uncomfortable, very painful, stopping me from doing the stretch. This looks like it is a little smaller, so let's see. Oh my God. Yeah, this is much less painful. If you want to, if you need to, get a little towel or some cushioning to put it under your leg. That feels much better when I just did that. Ow, what a stretch in the leg. Oh my goodness. Okay, and then the other one that I remember is, I believe it was the crossing, what was it? You cross over like this, and you do your stretch, and oh, the piriformis muscle. Yes, this is going to be my assembly video of the Nitrofit. It is a really good purchase. It's an incredible purchase. Thanks for watching. Please do a thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. Again, if this helped you, I would appreciate a donation to my PayPal account. Just ask for the info. And happy stretching, everybody. Nitrofit Limber Pro.